Joining.
Here we go. All right, here we go. So good to see everybody already on our Tuesday morning. All right, there's Eric. Hi, Eric. I already see you in there. Nice. Hope you're having a great day. Ah, see, there he is drinking his coffee. We got it. Yep.
The doorbell keeps ringing.
Yes, we love that doorbell.
I'm not hearing the doorbell, does he? Just saying.
What?
I'm not hearing the doorbell.
You're kidding me. Nobody else. Am I hearing things? Okay. Well, just
You're
to let
hearing
you
them,
know-
which is great. But if you want me to help, then
Oh, is that what you're saying? I didn't make you co-host. Oh man, you can't help me at all if I don't let you in. Awesome. There, you heard that doorbell. It's so good to see everybody. I see Johnny's name now really quick. I like to do this. Shout out to Johnny because Johnny works a full-time job, long hours, and he volunteers his time to do all the edits for this video. And by the way, I have already got requests for people saying, hey, they can't make it. Are you going to do a replay? So, Robert, just to let you know that we do the replay, we put it up onto our library. And so it is shared. There are a lot of people that like to come back and see it again or have not been able to make it today. So we'll send that out and you'll be able to share it too. So
sounds good.
We're going to give it a couple minutes and give people time to jump in here. And man, Sheila, you are on it with that doorbell. We have few people still waiting to get in. And while we do that, hi, Bill. Yes, see, right there in that chat, we already have people saying hello, good morning. That's what we're all about. So, who has any? There's Bill with his coffee cup. I love it. So, who has a great drone story to share? Anything exciting happening this week that you want to share with us? Hi, Sherry. Robert. Oh, and speaking of that, so I better just like right now, just segue. Robert Cheek is with us and he is with Uvifly. And so he's going to be sharing, but he has something great to share. Plus, I also saw that you're going to be in Vegas.
I will be in Vegas from this Friday. I'll be there for the LDI, where one of our operators will be doing the first drone show for that conference as well. So if any of the participants or anyone would like to go, just give me a shout. I can get you, we can get you some good seats to the show and yeah, have a chat there as well.
Wow. Awesome. Well, that will be a treat seeing that in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a business trip, right?
Awesome. So do you have a shout out? Something great that's happened this week as well?
Oh, well, I mean, when I start talking, I don't stop. So if anyone else would like to go before me.
We like that. Well, there's been a lot of really great stuff happening. And I also want to encourage you to check out the Vertical Space magazine for women in drones. Great articles. Bill Johnson, he's got an article in there for AAM. Bill, what's that article? You want to touch kind of lightly about it? You're like, well, that was
it was an article that really focused on what the government has been doing over the past couple of months. Things like the movement on Mosaic. I think I brought that up in there. There was, gosh, I'm trying to even recall now because it's been a while since we wrote it and put it in. But in general, I was trying to give a sense of that things are moving forward, which is really exciting in the AAM area. There have been a lot of developments across the board that I did touch on in the article, which I hope to upcoming this next. I'm going to interview the folks from the Advanced Air Mobility Institute, Dan Sloat and his team. So look for that in the next edition.
Fantastic. We will. We'll keep our eye out on that. Carolyn is also, I think, working on one or going to be working on one about the drone zone sanctuary. I think she's going to be meeting up with Eric and kind of sharing a little bit about that. And I have a shout out because I see Dave Messina on here, and I reached out to him, and he's going to be sharing with us coming up 2024. Awesome. So excited to have you on board with us, Dave, as well. Always a fountain of information. We love it when Dave joins us. All right. With that, I am going to segue over because we have an amazing guest speaker, and I know that's really why you're here today. And so we have Robert Cheek with us, and I am thrilled. Robert is the Chief Operating Officer for Uvifly, and it's a manufacturing company that specializes in aerial robotics. You know what I'm talking about, right? Swarm drones. How exciting to have you here. I'm going to make you spotlight for everybody, Robert, and I'll turn it over to you if you want to share. Just kind of start with how you even got started in the industry.
Okay, thanks, Desi. Well, I'll start with my news for the week, and yeah, well, actually, it was last week. So one of our operators here in the U.S. At the IAPA conference in Orlando achieved their third Guinness World Record last week. They received 2 for the largest commercial swarm operation in the U.S., and the second is for the largest flag, big American flag, with 1,600 Uvify EFO drones, and so we're quite happy about that. So yeah, that's
Congratulations.
thank you. Very good team, and we're very pleased with the outcome, obviously. So to talk a little bit about myself, so I've been in robotics for over a decade now. I started with mobile robots on the business side with a company called Eugene Robot, and we were one of the first companies in the world to develop an AMR, which is a autonomous mobile robot. And so that business is ongoing there. I left Eugene to go work for Hyundai Motors, the investment banking arm, where I was the robotics analyst for the investment arm. So what I did there was I evaluated technologies related to autonomous driving, aerial robotics or drones, mobile robots, anything with robots, whether for investors, whether if it's a public company to invest in like stocks, also for internal for like acquisitions or partnerships, like for example, like the Boston Dynamics acquisition that happened a few years ago. And so that's really what I did there. And how did I come to Uvify? Was when they received their A round, investment round, that popped up on my radar. I'm like, okay, who's this? Met with the CEO, had had a few coffees, and then I worked with them as an advisor for 6-7 years, and de facto COO, and then this year, because the company is growing so fast, I realized that to kind of facilitate and accelerate that growth, I would have to do it on a full-time basis. So I transitioned over to to the company, and so yeah, and yeah, here we are. A little bit about the company. We very much, as mentioned, we specialize in swarm. So commercial operations is one of ours. We are the market leader in the number of hours flown. We have more hours flown than every other company in the world combined, simply because our operators are running every day somewhere in the world. And many of them, the more successful ones, that they will have 5, 6, 7 shows in one day. So you can imagine it's quite a lucrative business, and we're really still at the beginning of this kind of growth because of all of the other applications for this technology beyond shows, which is now turning into marketing, which is there's things like public safety, and there's so many other applications which are being envisioned and developed with this technology. The other arm of our business is very much industrial defense type of work that we do. So we've worked with, we're a little different than the other drone show manufacturers or companies in that we work with like the DARPA offset program where we developed autonomous swarm drones. So that's a different arm of our business. We were funded to do basically GPS denied navigation. So that's, we're very, very good in this area as well. So basically two arms of our business. One other thing. So if you go to our website, you're going to see some drones, drone racing. We don't do that stuff anymore. We started with that 10 years ago, 8 years ago. Everyone thought drone racing was going to be a new esport. But as we all here know, flying drones is not as easy as playing a video game or a PC game. It's a whole different ball of wax. And so, yeah, that business didn't grow as fast as everyone predicted. So we kind of quietly transitioned out of that into other applications. But what we learned from that is how to mass produce, which we are very good at now, because yeah, that's where we kind of cut our teeth in mass production. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about what we're doing.
Very exciting. I can see all the doors opening.
So I'm going to take a bit of a kind of a casual format to this. I'm going to talk a little bit, but I'd like to basically, don't be shy. Take a kind of a Q&A anytime you want to speak up or you have a question or about opportunities, about technologies. I'd like to take that kind of a format so we can just kind of have like a coffee or fireside chat over this. As we are, most of us here, I imagine, are in the commercial UAV space. And Desi, if you recall, in Vegas this year, we talked about the opportunities that are still there with running drone light show businesses or experiences, as we call them. Many of us, we're in a business where let's say you're doing surveying or mapping or building inspections. And 5 years ago, if you were in that business, your margins were much better, I imagine, than they are today. Why? Because the AI, the autonomy has improved considerably. 5 years ago, you didn't have basically what I consider to be the modern equivalent of a kid with a lawnmower who can compete with you with a little cheap Mavic, right? And he's going to come in or she's going to come in and say, I can do this job for whatever, which creates margin pressures for commercial drone operators. Now, this margin pressure is going to increase going forward. Even though the overall industry is growing, it's changing. So what does that mean for you as a business owner? You don't want to go, where the puck is. You need to go where, the proverbial go where you see it heading. Where is it heading? It's heading towards swarm operations, whether it's, what we do or other applications that are emerging. And so that's really a blue ocean of opportunity still. There are tons of markets. There are tons of municipalities. Everyone, there's weddings. There's so many applications for this to monetize now that it makes sense to if you're in this business, to go to something where your margins are good. The barriers to entry are relatively high. And so the profits are there.
So I had seen, even through commercial UAV, that you had advertised about some openings and opportunities at that time. And when you're saying that, the verticals that are available are just beyond imagination, really, how it can be used. Not to sidetrack us in any way, but how do you get somebody on board with it? So from personal experience, I have a situation where I'm trying to promote it and say, this is the future. This is how we should do this. How do you get somebody on board with that?
That's a great question. So one of the things about this business is that it advertises itself. So you run a production. I'll give you an example of one operator in Canada. They are now the largest operator. They did their first production. They had it was at a place called Base 31, which is basically a Royal Canadian Air Force base. Which is being gentrified with art galleries and restaurants and hotels. And so in this area, I think it's about an hour outside of Toronto. There are wineries and other kind of industries around there. And so what this company did is they held a kind of company premiere, kind of a company coming out party. And what they did was we produced it. They had like a DJ. They had catered food. They invited some influencers, and really the production went through the show, and it had their brand. At that event, some businesses around the area are like, we want it, so, and that's one of the things that happened. The company recently did something at Marriott in Muskogee, same thing. People were there like, we're running businesses across the country, we want it. And so it's one of those snowballing kind of businesses. You see it, when you see it on YouTube, it's one thing. When you go out there, and it's kind of a quasi-religious experience. When you see it, you're like, wow, this is, no matter what, you're going to look. Even if you've seen thousands of them, which I have, you're still going to look. That's an advertiser's dream. I'm getting spams right now. I'm not looking. Commercials, you're not looking. No matter what, if there's stuff moving, because the human eye is conditioned to track movement. That's a part of how we evolved. And so when there's something moving, you're going to look. Most likely, you're going to share that. And so you can see the potential for that, for social media, for marketing, for and any number of applications, security. And so it's really, it's really an exciting time.
Awesome. So I did see that Bill has a question, but I see Dave's got his hand up. So let's kind of reach out and see. Go ahead, Dave.
Robert, interesting point. If I understood what you were saying, is that lots of opportunity in swarm drone activities. And so I was thinking, how do you calculate the crossover when it's cost effective to go to a swarm versus a single drone? So I was thinking hourly operations, number of people, etc. So I have an operation, whether it's inspection or video or mapping or whatever. When does it pay for me to say, oh, I really should be using a swarm?
Right. Great question. So without getting too granular, I think we'll take it at a high level. So if in North America, a typical production runs at the low end for $100 per EFO, per drone, to $500. And then it goes up for certain types of productions. So you take that and that's one production. So, and a production typically lasts 8 to 12 minutes, sometimes a few minutes more, sometimes, but yeah, in that range. So if you take that and you look at what your investment is in the system, you can see how quickly you get an ROI off of that and how fast you can become profitable.
Yeah, but what's interesting is we're talking about a capital outlay vis-a-vis an expense rate. So this would have to be calculated over a duration with a utility rate of the swarm as well. So I find it, I've never heard anyone say you really, that the puck is headed toward swarm, and I'm absolutely intrigued by that. The cost calculations and the profitability seem very interesting, and it could be a driving factor in terms of how big you want to go, how many drones can you afford, and where's the break point for a specific operation?
That's a very good question. You can email me and I can get some numbers to you. I don't want to quote
I know.
you on I don't know.
We'll probably
what
go
your business-
off into a dark chasm on that one. But thank you for bringing up the point, and I'll be delighted to chat offline.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. What I can tell you is that our operators are extremely profitable, and without going into too many details.
There you
Thank
go. So I'm going to put the Robert. Do you want the robotic guy email used? I could put that into our chat, or would you prefer the other email? Because you have a couple of emails.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go with the company email. The one, yeah, the
Okay.
Uvify, please.
Okay, I will put that into our chat, and then that way conversations can continue on. We do actually have more questions into our chat, if that's okay.
Of course.
Going back to what Bill said, he was asking about the technology, including BVLOS operations. And do you see that? Is that already in place, or is that something on the horizon?
So that's something that's on the horizon with this business. So because this is a new industry, relatively new, we work very closely with regulators around the world and how to, steer the growth of this industry. Because obviously regulators have an interest in safety, in things like this. But at the same time, to grow the evolution of the technology and the business. So we work very closely with regulators on this. Right now, BVLOS is not really an issue, but I can say without going into too many details, with swarm technology, not shows necessarily, but with other applications, we are in talks, in development with government agencies to find ways to deploy this technology for other applications. And again, I can't go into too many details on that because it's something that's NDA and in development. So there is that opportunity as well, which is tremendous.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I could, Desi, I'm gonna jump in, and because I have a military background and I look at the military space, and I know you talked about offset and the DARPA program, I was very aware and very actually a part of that for some amount of time while I was with Northrop Grumman. Looking at the new replicator system that the Office of that the DoD is looking at, which is a bunch of small drones that are going to be swarming. That's a new technology that they're looking at, and thinking beyond visual line of sight. I can imagine that your technology, having the ability to control and to have autonomy with multiples, would be really, really useful in at least in that application from a military point of view. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That is an area of interest and development for us as well. So that is something, but again, that's a different arm than the kind of entertainment marketing business. So yeah, but they're all related.
Awesome. So we have a lot of conversation going on in our chat right now. I think what might help to get some clarity is, can you tell us a little bit about the process? So there's some questions in there about, the training behind it, getting a waiver, and, obviously you are getting a waiver to fly more than one drone at a time, that type of thing. Can you tell us a little bit about the process?
Absolutely, I'd be delighted to. So really, what we like to, in terms of like a metaphor, we really like to look at the EFO experience business is similar to, and I know it's a terrible place to eat, McDonald's, where we provide you the systems, we provide you the hardware, the software, the training, the support, everything end to end, 24/7, year round, because this business is you can imagine the holidays are no time to rest for our operators. So what we do is, when you invest in a system, we prepare everything for you, whatever your territory, your country, frequency regulations, all that stuff. We prepare your system, we ship it to you, we help you with everything, and it's end to end. The only thing you need to provide yourself are two Windows laptop computers, and we will send you a list of recommended models. So what do? When you take delivery of your system, we go over everything with you, check everything, then we start an onboarding process. Now, the onboarding process usually takes 3 to 5 days, depends how fast your team learns. And so that's where we go over the software. We go over test flights. We'll start with 1, and we'll do like 5, and then 20. And then we sign off that you've completed your training. In terms of getting permits, obviously you need to have a 107 in the US to, to fly them, and then in terms of, you need to get kind of a swarm, you need to get a permit to fly swarm operations. Now, because our systems are flown more than anyone else's in the world. I mean, we look at that picture you sent me, Desi, with Ramon from Drone Code. In terms of PX4, no other platform has as many hours, as much data than we do in terms of hours flown. So what does that mean for you as a business? When you do your applications, when you go to your regulators, they know our platform. So that's why our platforms are flying over London, over LA, and this is all the time. So it's relatively easy to secure the necessary permits and all of that with our platform because it's proven. That's why we say powerful, precise, proven. There are other companies and they blah, 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 nice websites. Our stance, what we say about this business is see, believe. And so even though our website is being updated now, we can point you to a zillion different companies that are using our stuff and productions, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Netflix, whether it's the city of New York, and it goes on and on and on. And we can point to more world's firsts and world records than anyone else in the business. And so I think that's a big differentiator. We are essentially your technical partner behind the scene. So you only have to run your business, sell and market. Everything else, we're there behind you.
I know. I said, congratulations on all of your victories and success. That is just amazing. Awesome.
Thank you.
Sharon has actually put a question into our chat as well that is probably on the top of a lot of people's mind is, what about getting the insurance and general liability and such like that?
So that's a great question. And what I can say is that every operator, or most of them, are insured. Actually, we're signing on a new one in Italy. And we're not insurance experts. Having said that, operators are insured. So all that stuff is available. And we recommend that you just reach out to an insurance company when you're ready to start your business and to get your insurance. But what I can say is globally, operators do have insurance. So it's insurers are aware of this business.
But Desi, if I could just do a follow-up. Thanks, Robert, for your response. My follow-up to that is, my question was generally around, what are you seeing the entities like the local governments requiring of the insurance, and at what level? And the reason why I asked is because it's not unusual for drone operators to have $1 million, but generally for government contracts, my experience is that many times you've got to have at least 5 million, and then they have very specific requirements in addition to just having drone insurance. So I didn't know if you could speak to what are the requirements that you're generally seeing here in the States around the requirements, because so many times small operators don't know to figure in the costs associated with that in terms of putting a bid or for quote, and that it can be a huge chunk of the cost associated with putting on this show.
So as the manufacturer, we do not handle that part of and that's a good question. And I do not have the answer for that, but I know that the operators, they do lots of municipalities, they do concerts and things like this. So in terms of a specific number, I do not know the number for that, but I do know that they do get their insurance or meet the requirements of whether it's a municipal government or it's a concert or a movie release or something like that. And what I can say is that some of the smaller operators, let's say they're running 20 to 50. And I'll give you the example of one. They did a production for a high school graduation, which is obviously it's not like a Pac-Man 750 over New York City or Avatar 2, over Niagara Falls. It's a different ball game. Nevertheless, it's still profitable. I'm sure that they had to have insurance to run that over, the high school. And that's not a several, $1 million or, production, but they're still running those. And some of the smaller operators are doing smaller shows over municipalities, over small cities, regional governments. And this is happening all the time. If it was prohibitive, they wouldn't be in the business.
All right. Are you good, Sharon?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks.
My pleasure. Thanks for your question.
So tell us a little more about the packages. You've thrown out some numbers as far as the larger packages, the smaller packages. What would be considered a smaller package versus the larger ones? And then also David asked about how many people does it take to actually operate one, say around 100 drones?
Okay. So we have a minimum order quantity of 20 because it doesn't make any sense. People are like, oh, I want to have 2. Like, there's no point. So we require at least 20. We generally recommend, at the low end, and there are some companies that say, well, you need to have at least 500 to start. No, and we don't want you to start with something like this. We would love to sell that, obviously. However, because we take safety very seriously, because we take your success very seriously, as we do all of our operators, that's how we have 90% share of the market in North America and 80% globally. That's how we have more hours than everyone combined, flight hours. And that's how our stuff is flying over, major cities around the world. 40 to 50, that's a good number. I think you can win a lot of wedding proposals, a lot of regional government stuff, a lot of weddings, events, smaller events, high school graduations, stuff like this. But if you want to grow, you want to get to 300 or 400 as fast as possible. And that's what, many operators, they're scaling to that as fast as possible. Why? QR codes. So why is it 300 to 400? So 300, you can have a QR code, but Android, there's so many flavors of Android that, that doesn't scan all the time. An iPhone will scan it. 400 is a bulletproof QR code. And so once you get to that level, then you're at a different, you're a different stage of the game. Then you get companies that want to market, right? They want to put their ad in the sky. They want to put their messages. And so you want to get there as quickly as possible, but as safely as possible. And that's why you want to scale, get people to know who you are. And that's what we see with the very successful operators.
Well, thank you. Great information, expanding our horizons right there of how we could even implement that. So what about the whole setup scenario? How much space does it require when we're talking about putting out, let's go with that 100 drones to get us started. How much space does that require? And then what is the safety parameter around that?
So generally, in terms of an operational area, we recommend 1.5 square meters per EFO drone as the launch and landing area. That can go down to a meter, but again, we do it in a meter. But as you become more experienced, and it's like riding a bicycle. Once you like anything, once you get better, you're more comfortable. You high confidence level. You're like, we can execute this at this site. We've done it before. We know how to do it. You can go down to square meter, but we guide officially 1.5 we like that margin of safety. Just like everything else we guide very conservatively because we don't want, a rogue operator or some cowboy doing something foolish because that's bad for the industry.
Right. We're all ambassadors for the industry. I could see maybe a safety buffer of 2 meters then.
In terms of the public safety and operations, when they're in the air, we have basically two, we call it perimeters. So these two perimeters, if the production breaches perimeter one, and again, we'll guide you, we'll train you, we'll be there to support you for your first production. Basically, again, we're behind the scenes. The first perimeter, if there's a breach, the EFO will return to home. If they breach the second perimeter, they just drop, because you don't want them flying off randomly. And so these are built into the system. And of course, with this, you can adjust accordingly to your level of proficiency at operating the system, the operating environment. Clearly, some environments are more challenging than others. So, I mean, if you're operating something off of a rooftop in LA over, not over people, but very close, it's going to be very, very tight, very challenging. And that's where we come in to help you. Versus if you're doing something in a field in, Oklahoma or somewhere like this.
How many people does it typically take to run an operation?
You can run it with 2 people, but so let's say, I think your question was 100. I would say, so you have your pilot, you have what's called a co-pilot. Even though the system is autonomous, the law requires that you have the pilot's got to be there, and then there's a co-pilot who's sitting next to you. Then you generally have people, spotters, right, in the area to make sure the airspace is safe, make sure just watching. I would say 100 you could get by with 5 people. So 2 people on the payroll, your core people, your tech, and your pilot. And then the other 3 would be like student part-timers to help set up and break down, because it is labor intensive. You do have to set it up and break it down. I heard a story about a production that was done once for a very famous retired athlete, without going into too many details because of NDAs. For a birthday party that was hidden from him, and he wanted to use a part of this property to play a game that on this property he owned, and the team had to break it down without him knowing and then set it up again. And but yeah, they did it, and yeah, it was very successful.
Oh, wonderful. Dave asked a question regarding the IFOs have multiple radios or multiple location capabilities. That's a perfect question coming from Dave.
That
Well,
I
the
would
rest of
probably have to
the rest
not
of the question is to protect against attacks on the swarm. And so, if you think of a General Atomics Predator, multiple radios and communication capabilities. So I'm wondering, for sure you've got the communication link. Is the is there a video link? Is there LiDAR? And if you would rather not answer, I completely respect that.
No, I can answer part of that question. So there on the EFO, the light show experience drone, there's no LiDAR, it's minimal. There are multiple communication links without going into too many details. But no, there's no LiDAR or camera because that's not necessary. What is necessary is for speed, precision, and luminosity, the light intensity on our other products. So for example, like our Omega, which is our open modular environment for general autonomy, that's very much made for autonomous operations. It's not on our website, unfortunately. It will be updated. That one does have multiple cameras. It has a 32 channel LiDAR. And other communication systems. On the EFO S, which is the one that we used for the DARPA offset, there are also cameras on that as well. So it depends on the product. For light shows, it's much focused on the pixel in the sky.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Circling back to the training, if someone was to go ahead and move forward with this as their career path, what type of training is involved and how long does that take?
Mm-hmm. So typically the training takes 3 to 5 days. So to get you operational. So basically we can do the training remotely. We have perfected that over during the pandemic because obviously we had to continue running the business. And so we have trained operators around the world remotely. All of this is included. We include everything with our, there's no hidden costs, right? Or if you would like, we can send people to your site for on-site training. There is obviously an additional cost for that, but we only charge return airfare per diem of $100 per day per person so that we can buy beer and get our Ubers and hotel. And we're very reasonable. We will fly just regular, and we stay at Holiday Inns and stuff like that. And so that's entirely up to the operator. Also, part of doing, working with us in that business is when you get your big production or you get your very challenging production, for example, like something over Niagara Falls or in a big one in New York City where it cannot fail. You call us, same thing. We'll send people. We'll be there with your team to make sure that everything goes flawlessly. So we're very much behind the scenes of almost everything you see like on YouTube and all that stuff.
Very comforting right there. That service behind it is great. So if we were to go ahead and move forward, and now we have our training in progress, can we circle back and actually talk a little bit more about the drones? You mentioned a couple different styles and what they do. Tell us a little bit as far as like the size and weight of the drones themselves. Am I going to be carrying this big heavy container around?
They're relatively light. Let me just look at this. Let me look at the spec because we're always making incremental improvements. I don't want 1 kilo. Hold on, give me a moment. Okay. So basically, we ship them. We supply them with in cases which carry 6. And if you see many of the productions online, you'll see these black boxes that are about yay big. And you'll see people carrying them, many of them with our logo, many of them with their company's logo. But you see people, it's not heavy. Okay, yeah, 900 grams, 990 grams takeoff weight. So yeah, it's not super heavy. It shouldn't be. That said, it's heavier than some other platforms that are out there. We've kind of optimized it to handle very high gusts of wind. And again, we guide to our operators, the wind resistance, and we guide very conservatively because once again, we don't want to have some cowboy, going out there and saying, okay, we're going to redline it. And that's absolutely what we do not want. We have a hidden number in terms of what it can do. But we don't necessarily, we don't recommend that officially because for safety purposes.
I love that. Big on safety. That's excellent.
Big on safety.
Yeah, that's excellent. Where are they actually manufactured? Sharon posted that in our chat.
Yep. So we manufacture everything in South Korea. So nothing made in China, including obviously the stuff we do with DoD or MOD and things like that. So no critical components come from any of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Right. So we manufacture everything in South Korea, and we also we have a warehouse in LA as well. Part of our business, which I think you'll find is very exciting, is we know that it's a capital intensive business to speak to the question from the gentleman early on. And so something else we offer is what we call the FAB. Why do we call it that? It's the Fleet Augmentation Bank. Now, we call it the FAB because I love acronyms. Basically, what is the FAB? So let's say you invest in a 50 EFO system. Well, we want you to grow as fast as possible. And let's say you have a prospect that says, hey, I would like a show with 70 because I can see what I can do with 70 or 100. So what does that mean? That means you're able to essentially or to double up to double your fleet size with our fab, with our rental program. So you'll be able to access this as needed for larger productions. So if you have 500, you can double your fleet size basically.
Ah, for specific times that you would need that. You don't have to-
Correct.
Wow, fantastic. Circling back, Jim posted in here, are the drones Blue Force compliant?
They don't need to be. Are you talking about Blue?
I think
Blue
he's right.
certified? So that's a great question. So the defense stuff, so in terms of that certification, that essentially, as you know, is basically a checklist for government procurement officers to make a purchase very easily. So there's a list, and they're like, oh, it's Blue certified. We were involved in those conversations early on with what's it, DIU? DIU, yes, I think it's DIU. But we didn't, we got distracted growing our entertainment business, and so we actually didn't get that for our defense stuff. However, that's not an issue. The issue is you sign off that no critical components are sourced from those countries. So, but having said that, for that business, when those certifications come around, I think it happens like once a year or something. We will, just go ahead and do that because it makes it easier for the customer to find and say, okay, it's Blue. So, but yeah, not for the entertainment business. No, it's not necessary.
Awesome. So we do have just a few more minutes left here. The time has gone so fast. I don't even know if you had something planned. We've just been diving into all these questions. Another one has come up regarding the weather. So you mentioned that you'd taken into precautions the wind and such like that. But what are some of the temperatures that the drones can actually handle? Sharon posted in there a nice warm 22 degrees in Chicago.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
Other
So
than being warm in your fingers.
I think we've got a cold weather battery, and don't quote me, I have to double check, but I think we've tested it to -20 or even -30 C metric. And so our operators run from the Middle East to Australia to the northern parts of Canada to Northern Europe, Switzerland, the Nordics. So, and obviously Christmas, New Year's is a big time for productions. Everyone wants a production then. So running around the world in all environments, beaches, deserts, ice. So it's very robust. If you look at the show, the World Record Breaker, last week, it was raining pretty heavily in Orlando. And we're looking at it and like, but the operator's like, show's got to go on, like, do it. And then they did it, and two world records. So, and it made a lot of people more interested in this business. So yeah, but again, because we guide conservatively, because we're like we wouldn't do it, but it showed the robustness of our platform. So the end result was very good. I see Marie saw that. Yeah, there were two shows in Orlando, but thank you.
Yeah, she said the show was stunning. Awesome. Is it on YouTube?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I bet you Sheila's fingers are going to be typing. She's going to go find that right now for us to share. So continuing on with the weather and such like that, two questions. One is, you said we've talked about the opposite. How about the heat? Because, Palm Springs, the desert and such like that, it can be very, very hot. And then how long does a battery even last?
I think in terms of cycles, I think we say it's 300 cycles, but it goes more, but we guide for that. Flight time, I think the flight time is engineering flight time, maybe I think up to 20 minutes. Obviously, you're not going to run a production because after that 20 minutes, those are under optimum conditions with the light off, and then it's going to do this because I gave a range for the show times or the production times. And the reason for that range is also various factors. So complexity of the show, operating environment, wind, things like this, how much power you're using for your motors to keep them. So there's a range, right? So yeah. Going to Palm Springs, we actually worked with an as well. So Palm Springs, you're talking about in California, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it was hot. So
Very.
that was my first time to Palm Springs. And then, we do have,
And your last?
I didn't know it was in the desert, but it was a nice place. But yeah, so we ran a production there. It was set up in the daytime. Miami, there's tons of stuff being done in Miami constantly year round. Obviously the winter is very nice there, but summertime, I think there was Virgin Cruise Lines, yeah, with J-Lo, or I don't know, but something like this. So yeah, all environments, UK, Scotland, the winds in the highlands, up in the mountains. So it's a very robust platform, and that's why we say, we're like, don't believe anything we tell you, go look. So we get people they actually look and they're like, yeah, I was looking at the video by this company and I zoomed in on the drone and it's this one. I'm like, right.
Oh, fantastic. Sheila did find the YouTube, so I encourage everyone to go check that out. And I don't know, Marie Louise, did you get to go see it in person or did you see it online? Love to see that into the chat or a thumbs up or something. So we are pretty much running up towards the top of the hour. I would like to, maybe she saw it online. Awesome. So I want to go ahead and wrap it up. Any last minute thoughts or anything like that? Not to put you on the spot here, but I know you had mentioned maybe some little shout outs for or offers for women in drones. Here we are, right?
Oh, not making it a commercial plug, but I'm gonna make it a commercial plug. So any member of Women's in Drones, reach out to me directly. We're going to give you a special price so you can get into this business. It's an exciting business. There's a lot of, we're going to help you in the background with technology, with marketing, with everything. So if you want to get into this business, reach out to me directly. And I think Desi will share my email address if you could. Thank you.
Yep.
And we're going to get you an unpublished price so you can get into this business.
Count me in. Boy, I want it. I have so many times that I've gone, oh, it would be great to do here. Oh, I could do it here. And so, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And in the email, please do mention that, you were introduced through Coffee Connection so that, I remember.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much. Yes.
If any of you can. Oh, sorry. And if any of you can make it to Las Vegas for LDI, December 3rd through the 5th, there's going to be a show there. I think it's going to be 500 to 750, a larger one. It'll be the first there. Let me know. I'll see if I can get you a guest pass and, can have a look in firsthand and experience an EFO experience yourself and see the buzz around this business in the entertainment industry and in the kind of light design industry as well. So just let me know and I'll hook you up.
So what night are you actually doing the show? Is it every night or just specifically one night?
I believe it's on the 4th.
On the 4th. Okay.
Yes. Just double checking. Yeah, I believe it's on the 4th. Sorry, we run a lot of productions.
Well, look, Renee, being there in Vegas, said, hook me up. What's the email? Okay, I'll put it in our chat again, all right? Oh, I could even message you. And Renee, you can reach out to me if you need it as well, but I'll put it in our chat.
Yep, it's December 4th at 6:15 p.m. at the Las Vegas Convention Center.
And Robert, I'll be in touch to talk about extending this partnership between Women in Drones and your organization.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Good.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. I have been so excited that you were going to be coming on since, oh, the first day you said yes. So I am
Thank you for
glad.
inviting me.
Knew Sharon would be upset about the partnership. Yeah, so annoyed.
Oh, well, we're thrilled to have you here today. We thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge, sharing everything with us, and hope to see you in Vegas. That'll be great. I'd love to go. Renee's going to reach
Likewise.
out. She's right there in Vegas. So I know she's going to reach out.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you, Desi, and thank you to everyone from Women in Drones and all the participants. Please do reach out with any questions, or if we can be of any service, we're happy to help. Always happy to talk drones.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and you have a great day. Thank you to everybody joining us here today. Have a wonderful week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget, if you have anything that you want to donate for the Christmas holiday party, that's coming up on the 19th, right? Lots to give away. All right. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Thank
Thank you.
That kind of wraps it up.